What's good, everybody? Welcome to Whole Views. Thank you for clicking that thumbnail. My name is Corey, and today we're going to be doing a movie review for the Book of Clarence. So, for this review, there's going to be chapters in the description. We're going to do a quick overview. We're going to talk about the likes, we're going to talk about the dislikes, and then we're going to end up with a little wrap up talking about all the thoughts kind of rolled into one at the end of the video. So, use the chapters if you choose to do so, and let's get to it. So as far as the rating goes on my scale, this movie falls into the all right category. And that's actually not a bad thing because I anticipated this thing being absolute trash. I hated the marketing for this movie. I didn't like any of the trailers. The idea of making a comedy out of this never made sense to me. And the comedy really didn't land in this one for me. But there's so much potential in so many areas where they did very well that it took it out of the trash category and really made it something that could have been really good, but just kind of fell short due to a few things. So, starting with the likes, the cinematography is impressive. The director here always tends to shoot action very well. Like, he also directed Harder They Fall, which was a Netflix film with a lot of the same cast members. I feel like he does action pretty well, and he did the cinematography opening here, and then kind of throughout the movie he does some really interesting things with the camera, and I enjoyed his camera work. Now, for those who watch everything I do, you'll know that I am a Christian, a believer. I believe in Jesus. I follow Jesus in my personal life. I really like the way they put a lot of respect on the Jesus character, even though it's not his story. This is a story that is adjacent to the Jesus story and really is like an alternative history of the Bible story of Jesus. And I thought they did his character really well when it came to the miracles, when it came to the presence and the reveal. All of it was really good and respectful of the biblical story. And the third thing that I like is the story of Clarence. This story is a nuanced story, and it is one that makes a clear distinction between Clarence as a fake Messiah and Jesus as a real Messiah. There were times in the movie where Clarence kind of felt like a placeholder for Jesus, but then at the same time, overall, he really wasn't a placeholder for Jesus, if that makes any sense. But I really liked the fact that Clarence had his own thing happening and his own journey with God and coming to be a believer and all those things. And so, yeah, I like the story, even though it's not 100% clear on what it is done well, and I like it. Now, on to the dislikes. I feel very strongly about the dislikes, and that's what keeps it out of any higher category for me. Just calling it good or pretty damn good or great. Like the dislikes, I feel very strongly about. So let's go into dislike number one. While I praise the cinematography, I must say that I don't like some of the visual risks that the director took with this movie. And I'll give a few examples. One time where characters were smoking weed, like they would take a puff and start floating on camera. What are we doing? I didn't like it. Every time that Lakeith Stanfield's Clarence character had a bright idea, there was a literal light bulb above his head. What are we doing? I don't like it. There were times that we spent with Jesus in this movie, and Jesus apparently saw visions of Judas betraying him and like meeting with the Romans. And I just didn't like the way it was all kind of cut together and thrown up for us, and then later revealed to be like a premonition. I didn't like how some of that stuff happened. So those are just a few instances that I didn't really enjoy. That the director took, visual chances. And while the cinematography overall I feel was good, I didn't like some of the risks that they took to kind of just be different. One huge dislike, and I think anybody who watched the movie can feel this. There's a very uneven tone to the film. The tonal shifts is just way too much. I don't like the idea of having a period piece because this was the same issue I had with The Harder They Fall. So this is clearly a director's choice in style, and I'm just not a fan of it. The fact that we have a period piece and we have rap music over period piece stuff. And it's fine because, we seen that same thing in Django Unchained. But in Django, it happened one time and it led to like, okay, this is a very iconic moment that we can look back on when this song starts playing and like, okay. But in his movies, we see it happen two or three times throughout the film where there's spoken word with contemporary R&B beats over a moment. And it's like, Why do that here? Why not have a traditional score and then like save that one song to play at the right time, and then it make a bit more sense, like something people will remember. Like I remember when they dropped that Rick Ross in the middle of this scene, and but no, it's several times you doing it, and I don't like how you do it several times. Another dislike that I already mentioned is that I didn't like that they made this a comedy, and it's a big deal for me because the comedy wasn't funny. That's one of the biggest flaws in anything that you watch. Like if it's an action but it's boring, then hey, you're missing it. If it's a scary movie that's not scary, then hey, you're missing it. A comedy that's not funny, it's like you are clearly missing it. I didn't like the fact that they tried to go comedy with this one because if you cut a lot of the comedic stuff out, you have a tighter movie that's more effective as a drama. And I feel like they missed it. And I'm gonna give you one big instance, I think, coming up. I don't necessarily love how liberties were taken with things that we know are historically accurate. And I'm not talking about specifically Jesus here. What I'm talking about here is the white Jesus character, Benedict Cumberbatch character in the movie. He is pretty much a leper throughout most of the movie, and then he gets healed and he gets restored, and he is basically the image of what most people know as like white American brown hair, big bushy beard, white man Jesus. And I didn't like that because historically, most people know where that imagery comes from, but they kind of inserted it here, like right at the start of the tale of Jesus, like when he's being crucified and people are being crucified by the Romans. And that's not where all that started. That started much, much later in other depictions. But even with that aside, the Benedict Cumberbatch character was very effective up until the last act of the movie, and then you get again going for jokes in the worst possible times. So this is a spoiler review. The movie's been out for over a month now, probably 2 months now. Listen, you get to the end of the movie and it's the third act, and Lakeith he's being crucified and he's going through the, carrying the cross, and he's being beaten, and he has his loved ones there on the side of the road, and he's the hair and makeup amazing, effects amazing, performance amazing, direction great. You feel something in those moments for Lakeith, and then they put the nails in his hands and they drive the nails in his feet, and he's hoisted up on the cross. And again, he's a placeholder for Jesus sometimes. Everything that you know from the Bible that happened to Jesus at the crucifixion happens to Clarence first, right? And so you get to the part where Lakeith is suspended in the air on the cross, and he calls out the whole Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Benedict Cumberbatch, like everything that he does in the moment is for laughs. And it's like, why are we going for laughs right here? Like, we don't need to go for laughs right here. It undercuts everything we just watched Lakeith go through. It undercuts the moment that he's having right now. It undercuts the whole movie. I don't like it. It was really, really bad choices to do those things in those moments. It's like, we're going to go for laughs no matter what. And they didn't even hit. So what's the point in that? And the last thing I didn't like is just something that I always keep track of is the pace. Like the pace of a movie means something in my opinion. So we looking at this one, and there's at least three, maybe four different places where this movie could have ended. Like they could have shut it down here or here or here, and it would have been fine to just like, okay, fade off. And we not fading off. We just keep coming back and just doing little things, more little things. And I didn't care for that. What they were trying to do was noble and cool and good, but the comedic elements, big misstep, took me out of the movie several times. The contemporary music, not cool. The constantly going for laughs and undercutting your dramatic moments, not good. And it took away from all the other things that were good, because I love Lakeith Stanfield. He did great in here. He was an adamant non-believer until he was basically forced to believe. And you see the turn and the little alternate history, like having Clarence be the brother of Thomas, because that's one of the disciples that we don't really know too much about. And like, oh, he's Thomas's brother, and Thomas is connected to Jesus, but he's jealous of the brother, and he has legitimate beef. And it's these are interesting things, but we're not doing the interesting thing. We're trying to make you laugh the whole time, and it's like just the idea of weed existing and Clarence being a weed salesman and getting high, and it's like, Why are we taking modern day things and injecting them? Just have it be something that happens. We don't have to make it like a plot point, like a character detail. A lot of little things like that just distracted from the movie for me. I was ready to dislike it, but it actually is much better than what I thought it was going to be. And I really found myself rooting for it as I was watching it. But those comedic moments just kept taking me and my wife, just taking us out. Better than I thought it would be, but my expectations were very low. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours if you did get a chance to watch it in the comment section. And that's all we have for this one, y'all. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and go watch something good.